you need to name a pair of vertical angles and a pair of adjacent angles in each figure. Okay? So vertical angles and adjacent angles. All right, so looking at this first figure, okay, what would be a pair of vertical angles? All right, Jaden. Okay, so angle 1, so this angle, let me make that smaller. So this angle right here, angle 1, and then how did you name that other angle?
Angle
J, so starting here, going to M, and then to K. So yes, those would be a pair of vertical angles. So we would say that angle 1 and angle JMK are vertical angles. And sometimes when we use angles, we just do the little symbol and then apostrophe S. Okay, so those are vertical angles. We also have to find a pair of adjacent angles. Emma?
Well, I had 2 questions.
Sure.
It says to find the measurement of angle 1, and couldn't you have also written angle 1 as angle HML?
You could have also written angle 1 as HML. That's true. And they want to know the measure of angle 1? Yeah, look at that at the top. Very good. In the instructions, they also tell you to find the measure of angle 1. Okay? We know it's the measure because the little m right here tells us that they want to know the number or the degree measure. So if angle 1 and JMK are vertical angles, that means that they have the same measurement. They're congruent. That means that they're the same. So what would be angle 1's measurement then? Chloe?
62 degrees.
Yeah. So the second part of this would be the measure of angle 1 is equal to 62 degrees. Okay, notice how I use the little m there to indicate the measure. And then last but not least, they want us to name some adjacent angles. Okay, I'm going to use a different color pen for this. What would be some adjacent angles here? Okay, Erica? Okay, angle HMJ, so that's this one. And which one? Yeah, and JMK, this one. Because they share that common side, are adjacent angles. Okay, so number 1, we've identified our vertical angles, we've identified the measure of angle 1, and we've identified a pair of adjacent angles. Believe it or not, there's 4 pairs of adjacent angles here. So there's 4 possibilities for an answer. And there are actually 2 sets of vertical angles here. So all of you could have done this assignment and come up with slightly different answers because there are so many possibilities. All right, and that's something that you're going to see over and over again. If you're working on a homework assignment and you talk with somebody and you're like, hey, what did you get? Just to kind of verify maybe you're doing it wrong, or maybe you want to look and see. As long as you're not copying that person's work, you're not, then you're collaborating, and that's good. You might see that they have different answers. It doesn't mean yours are wrong. There are so many possibilities in geometry. Okay, let's go to number 2. First of all, we have to find the measure of angle 1. All right, so let's take a look here. What do we know, or what kind of important thing are they telling us in this diagram? Bo? There is a right angle right here, which means that what is true of these lines? Reagan? They're perpendicular lines. Okay, so I'm just going to make a note. The lines are perpendicular. That means that every angle is a what? A right angle. Okay, so when I zoom in here, this is a right angle. This is a right angle. Doesn't matter how big I make the squares. This is a right angle. Okay, they're all right angles. So angle 1 must have a measure of what? So the measure of angle 1 equals 90 degrees. because it's a right angle.
The perpendicular line definition that it has in the book doesn't make any sense. That it intersects to form 90 degrees. Does that mean it just...
Two lines cross each other to form four 90-degree angles. That would be a good definition of perpendicular angles. I know the book's a little weird, but they're trying to account for all situations where it would apply. So yeah, sometimes they're kind of wordy or weird. That's not going to be a thing that changes. You're going to get to some weird definitions later. GP, weird definitions. Yo, DK, relax. Okay, next, what about a pair of vertical angles? Reagan.
Angle 1 and angle AEB.
Okay, that's true. Angle 1 and angle AEB. I'm going to trace it real quick. This one are vertical angles. And then off to the side, we're going to come up with a set of adjacent angles because I ran out of space. What about a set of adjacent angles here? Colby? And CEB. Yep. Yeah, if you guys want to shut the door, that's fine. Okay, so yeah, we've identified the measure. We noticed that they're perpendicular because there's a right angle involved. We found some vertical angles. We found some adjacent angles. Okay, and you guys are doing a great job of naming these correctly as well. Okay, so far, how do we feel about this? Show of a fist to 5. 1 being, I have no idea what we're doing. 5 being, yeah, I think I got a pretty decent understanding of it. Okay, if I see 1s, that's fine. It's fine. Okay, hands down. All right, number 3. This gets a little trickier. Okay, number 3, we need to find the measure of angle 1. Now, I want you to take a real close look at this. If I were to go all the way from P to M, how many degrees would that be? 180. Okay? However, we know that this is 70, this is 65, and angle 1 makes up the rest. So what could I do to find angle 1 here? GP?
You add 70 and 65, and then whatever that total is, you subtract that from 180.
Okay, so I can subtract 70 plus 65, and that's going to equal the measure of angle 1. Notice how I wrote this. 180 degrees minus what Grace said, the addition of 70 and 65, and that's going to equal the measure of angle 1. So Reagan's already got these added up. What is it?
45.
45 is the total answer?
Yeah.
Okay. So 45 degrees is the measure of angle 1.
Do you have to write it like that? Or...
You should get in the habit of trying to write things like this. Trying to come up with a single statement to represent it. You don't have to, but I will tell you that it'll benefit you because as our diagrams get more complex, things like this will become easier for you if you've already tried to write it this way. Okay, we need to find a pair of vertical angles. This is not as easy in this diagram, okay, because there's so many different lines radiating out from point Q. Okay, Erica, you want to take a stab at it? Okay, let's stop there. Let me get it written down here. You're saying angle LQM and what other angle? And angle PQN. That's true. Let me go ahead and trace those. LQM and PQN. Yeah, those are vertical angles. Okay, so that's good. Good. What about adjacent angles here? We have a lot of adjacent angles actually. GP? PQ. All right, so let me write that down. Angle PQN and what other one? Yep, angle NQM are adjacent. That's true. Good job. All right, not bad at all. You guys handled that one like a pro. That was good. All right, last but not least, okay, this one. Okay, first of all, there's a couple pieces of information here which are kind of important. Okay, they give us, what angle do they give us, but they don't actually put the number? Chloe.
The right angle.
Yeah, the right angle. So we know that this one's 90. Can anyone tell me what, look up at the board here, what the question mark equals then? Reagan? 60 degrees. Okay, and the reason it equals 60 degrees is if you were to look at this as kind of like a horizontal line, 90 and 30 is 120. So that red question mark has to be 60 degrees so that everything on that side adds up to 180. Okay? So, GP, you have a question?
Well, actually, I was thinking you could fill in all the rest of them now.
All right, well, let's do it then. What other one do you want to fill in? Take a stab at it.
90 degrees, and it's also a vertical line, so the other one is 90 degrees. That one.
Okay, so which one, name the angle that's 90.
WZV.
Excellent. Yeah, that is 90 degrees. That is pro work right there. 90 degrees here. Okay. So, what about angle 1?
Then angle 1 is 60 degrees.
Yep. Because those are vertical angles, actually. So the 90s, Grace was totally on it. It was excellent. Those 90s are vertical angles. The 60s are vertical angles. So what about, hang on a minute, let me highlight them for you. What about this angle and this angle? Are those vertical angles? Yeah, so what would be the measure of YZX? Mary? It'd be 30 degrees. So we were actually just able to figure out all of these. And of course, you guys could go on to write them, but I think that you did a fantastic job. If you can complete a diagram like this, you guys you're golden, okay? If you can complete a diagram like this, you're doing really good work. Okay, let's go down here to number 5. They want you to find the supplementary angle and the complementary angle of 10 degrees. Okay, so let's zoom in here a little bit. What would be the supplementary angle? Okay, I'm just doing S and then the angle symbol. Yeah, Reagan?
170.
It would, because supplementary angles have to add up to 180. What about the complementary angle? What do we think? Yeah, GP?
80.
It'd be 80 degrees. Nice job. A little trick that I didn't get a chance to tell your class that might help with these is complementary means 90 degrees. They add up to 90 degrees. Okay? C comes before S in the alphabet. So C, complementary angles are 90 degrees. Supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. C comes before S, and if you're counting, 90 comes before 180. So it's a little bit of a trick, okay, in trying to remember these. Okay, so complementary angle is always going to be the smaller 90-degree angle. Supplementary will always add up to 180 degrees. Okay, I think you guys can probably handle those.